Today's agenda. Okay. I didn't hear the thing go on. Did it go on?
It did.
Oh, we heard it. Okay, good. You didn't interrupt me this time. Okay. All right. All right. Maybe I can. Is that okay? All right. All right. All right. No public comments. Scott, any changes to the agenda?
No.
No changes. All right. So tonight we're going to interview candidates. Right now we only have two. Third candidate has withdrawn. So John, would you like to come up first? We'll start with you. There's three questions that John Gannon insisted that we ask in his absence, because obviously we will make the decision when John comes back, so we can all vote on the same thing. It's important you attend select board meetings and BCA meetings, as you know. All right, and can you commit to the meetings?
Yes.
Okay. Number one, our town plan commits us to relocate the town office. Are you willing to work with the select board to achieve that end?
Yes.
All right. We are also moving forward to extend our water and sewer east of the downtown. Do you support the extension?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right. So John's out of the way. I'm going to leave. You guys don't like that. Any questions at all? No. That was from John. That's from John.
I understand.
All right. All right. Okay. All right. So John, why did you decide to do this?
Well, as you guys know, I've been involved with the town since I moved here. I've always felt that anytime I am able to get involved in something local that's making decisions that affect me, I should be involved. So since I've been up here in 08, I think I was on the planning commission a couple of years later, even as a non-resident on the planning commission, and then spent 10 years on there. I've also been the president of my homeowners association for 15 or so years. Pretty much a microcosm of this town.
Is it because no one else wants it, John?
Well, that could be the case.
I know what homeowners. It's the homeowners.
Probably a couple of people who wish I was not running it, but they don't want to do the work. But no, I've always felt that if I'm gonna be living somewhere and I can get involved, that I should.
Okay.
And I've done that all my life, no matter where I've lived.
All right. And you're comfortable with that also?
With getting involved?
No. You're comfortable with your position with your homeowners association?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. You're probably the first one I've met that is comfortable.
Well, the problem is, and people always like, well, do you still want to do it? Well, then if someone who's going to take that position and not actually do the job, that's not going to be good for anybody. So.
Okay. All right. How many members do you have?
42 households.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
About 6 of us who are full-time.
How big is your board?
3 of us on the direct board and 4 trustees, so 7.
Right, Sarah, would you like to add some of those questions?
John answered 2 of them.
I just, again, these will be standard questions, obviously, because of the town objective and the town aims, which we do have objectives every fiscal year. Fiscal year, right? Yes, fiscal year. And they change every once in a while. Do you see anything here in town that really needs to be amended or changed?
Well, I mean, I think you guys pretty much know how I feel about most of the stuff. I think the town itself is doing well. I don't think it's doing as well as when I first came here in 08. I think that we have some empty storefronts that, have not been addressed, not necessarily select board, but in general. I think we need to encourage more full-time residents to, education, for the school system, for help at some of the local restaurants and shops that cannot stay open because we lack full-time workers who can live in the area.
This is an unfair question, but I'm going to ask.
Absolutely.
How the hell do we get a response from our school system? We just don't get one, period. I'm very serious. It's a very frustrating situation for us.
Yeah.
Especially because, as you know, the town plan says that we're supposed to be overseeing and making certain a quality education is being offered to the people of Wilmington. We cannot, we can't say that here at this point. Okay.
I've spoken to folks who have kids in the school system and they're not very happy.
No.
And people who have said to me, I'm going to move because it's just not a good enough school system. But I think it's a lack of students.
I just want to say, not all of us agree with that assessment on the board. I hope that you're not speaking for everybody, but I have kids that went to school here and are doing really well, and a lot of people in the area.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have
kids that go to school here, so I don't want to
have
trash
kids in
the school
system. But I had a call from somebody last year asking me about, the school system and how they were unhappy with how it was set up, and they were planning on moving. They were a young couple with kids in school.
The question was, how do we establish some type of dialogue? Okay.
That
Other
is
than
fine.
crisis management,
Yes.
that's what we just go into. Okay, all right, I'll drop that.
I just want to
Gentlemen,
wait. I just want to say one other thing.
Sure.
As you know, select board meetings are the 1st and 3rd of the month. That's just the beginning. They're especially coming up there. It's budget season, and there are a lot of meetings. And it's important for people to be up here at the table for meetings.
Yeah.
Are you going to be able to commit to? It's more than 2 meetings a month.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, you can look through the planning commission attendance, and I was here 99% of the time in person. And the BCA meetings, when I can, I'm here in person. Yeah, I mean, that's not a problem. My work schedule is flexible. Work from home. I make my own schedule pretty much most of the time. My travel schedule. So as long as I know ahead of time, I can pretty much work about anything I need to.
Okay, and being on the select board is also putting on the Board of Civil Authority, which
I'm
you
already
are
on.
and also doing election things.
Which I already do.
So yeah, so good. Okay, just to make sure, like there
those
are
two jobs
busier times,
Yeah.
and quieter times as well. But
Understood.
definitely,
Yeah.
Gentlemen, questions?
How would you address the empty buildings?
I think we need to encourage, I know we encourage a lot of the tourists to come in, which is great, which is what we should be doing. I think we have an ordinance for vacant property that I don't know if we're really enforcing very well. I think we need to talk to the owners and basically do something with the building, or we need to have you move on. How that happens, I don't know, but they're pretty much warehousing some of these buildings that are sitting there without getting any sort of involvement. I think we need to push them to get development going on them.
All right, well, I got a prime example right there.
Yeah, I hear you. I know all about it.
So what are you gonna do with it? Are you gonna call them up and say?
We just spoke with him the other day, John and I and Meg Streeter, we spoke with him the other day. And we heard that, oh, yes, it's gonna happen, but I heard that about 7-8 years ago.
I think we need to keep pushing them. I mean, the legal authority, I'm not sure how much we can do legal wise, but I think we need to stay on these folks.
There's one thing we can do. In fact, the town of Brattleboro has just adopted an ordinance to doing with vacant buildings, whereas we're going to tax them separately and actually be penalized for not bringing them up to date and making them useful. I'm not sure how legal it is. In fact, we haven't looked into it completely here at this point, but we are going to get a copy of that ordinance, hopefully from their select board is always under siege over there anyway. But hopefully if we get it from the town manager, maybe we have something to look at, and maybe we can turn it to the planning commission, see if they can turn it into something. But yes, it is. There is a way, or at least an attempt, I think, to try and clean up what we have here right now. But anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Not a problem. I have another question.
Sure.
On the planning commission. When you read the planning commissions, all the planning zoning ordinances, it's all negative. You're saying have some sort of incentive to draw people in to stay. Well, all the zoning ordinances are all negative. It's all, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's all boxing you in. If there is no incentive on any of it, how would you address that?
there's no incentive as far as for
Bringing
businesses
people in, there's no incentive
to bring people in to live full time.
Right, there's no incentive for that. There's no incentive to bring people here for anything. If you
I,
read the zoning ordinances
okay.
from a unbiased,
Mm-hmm.
position, it's all negative. It's all you can't do this. And you can't do
Well, being on the planning commission, haven't been on it for 10 years. I think what the goal of the zoning is to be, guide rails for what can and cannot happen. Is it negative? Yeah, if you look at it that way, it is negative because you don't want people being outside the guardrails, and this is what we want the town to look like going forward.
that. It's true, you do not want to have a toxic waste dump in your backyard,
Yeah.
but you have to balance that. There has to be the carrot. There can't just be the stick.
Right, and which is, I think, what in my last year with the planning commission is what we pushed through is what the workforce housing. And so there is a carrot to do that, which is one of the things I led to push through for last year, was to have that workforce housing with the carrot. If you build so many units, you get the federal credits to do that. And we have allocated zoning to have someone be able to do that, given the amount of land, if they can have the amount of land to do that. So we have done that. So I did that with the planning commission. And also a lot of it was state mandated, but under my last year, we expanded the density. So there is incentive to increase housing.
And you also have the financial aspect of that, which
It's expensive. Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but you have to make the housing available for people to come in. And then, whether part of our note right now, we do a lot of marketing for, the tourist can maybe we do some marketing and say, hey, by the way, it's a great place to live and we have a good school system and you can live here and we have expanded housing that you can afford.
how are we going to do that?
Again, we already have those incentives in the zoning. Whether anybody
There's a
takes it up,
difference
we
between-
can't decide whether
I
someone's
know.
going to take us up on that.
There's
Same
a
thing with the
difference
senior
between
housing.
paper and reality.
Say it again.
There's a difference between on paper and in reality.
Right, so what the town can do is make it available, whether somebody actually comes in and does it, but I think we need to promote that it's available. And say, hey, by the way, you can build this 20-unit affordable housing in Wilmington. Why don't you come in and take a look at it? I don't think with outreaching to anybody to do that. I know there are other towns in Vermont that do that. They'll reach out. There are companies that will build affordable housing, setups that these other towns have reached out to and said, hey, it is, come take a look and let us know if you can do something. They want to do it because they're going to make money on it too.
No other reason not to.
Right. Well, it's all about the money. Vince, at the end of the day.
I don't think we're gonna have John fix the.
But again, with the planning commission was no, we made it available. We just need now to get somebody to come in and actually take advantage of it.
Even with the changes in Act 250 here at this point, it hasn't initiated any great building right now.
No.
And it's a good change. I'm just not sure it's gonna be a little bit too late. But anyway, Tony, anything to add?
Yeah, I got a couple of things.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in first off. And I want to let you know, I don't have any gotcha questions.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask everybody the same question.
I don't think that's what I was doing.
That was not. It's fine.
And so I wrote down a couple of questions.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember exactly what Tom asked you originally, but you talked about how it affected you. And my first question is, if a choice comes down to your best interest or the town's best interest, and the reason I'm asking this question is every time we start a meeting here, almost, maybe not tonight, Tom always asks, what's for the betterment of Wilmington? So are you able to make that clear-cut decision on what's best for John LeBron or what's best for the entire town of Wilmington? I think that's an important question for any candidate.
Absolutely. And the answer, which I think most of you already know, is what's best for the town of Wilmington.
Okay?
I don't have a horse in any of the races. I don't own a business here. I'm not affected by any industry groups whatsoever.
Okay.
So any of the decisions I ever made on the planning commission would for the betterment of the town and adhering to the town plan itself.
Thank you. But the next part of that question is the process that we have in place right now with the select board and the town manager.
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel about that? Do you support it? Do you think it's a good thing or a bad
I
thing?
think it's, yeah, I think it's a good setup.
Okay. And this is a technical question, and please,
Okay.
as I said, there are no wrong answers. What's the current problem with the select board?
The current problem with the
Yeah.
select board? I think the perception of the select board is that stuff happens without other people around town knowing what's happening.
Okay,
And I don't think I've made that a
Transparency.
secret. What?
transparency?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, I talk to folks who think, I mentioned about select board and planning, which are like, well, I don't bother going and talking to them because nothing's gonna happen. I'm not gonna get an answer.
Okay, thank you. My third question is, how would your membership improve the board?
Well, I think as you guys know me from sitting before you many times, I'm not afraid to speak my mind. I'm not afraid to disagree.
Okay.
And I'm not afraid to make decisions that may not be best for John LeCon, but are best for the town. And I'm okay saying that.
Thank you. I also like the stuff that you spoke in other answers about possibly marketing residences, the
Yeah.
way we market tourism.
Absolutely.
And the other things that I think are worth mentioning is, before my time here at the board, they lost the factory on Route 9. There used to be jobs through that factory. And in my opinion, Mount Snow has sent a lot of jobs to Utah, or, they no longer need the depth of services
Right.
at this location that they used to.
Mhm.
So when trying to attract full-time residents, is not just retirees, which I'm thrilled to see.
Right.
I would believe we would need some kind of an industry to attract them. You know what I mean?
I don't disagree with that, but I think that's going to be a harder nut to crack to have an industry in town. I think these days that people work remotely. I work remotely.
Yeah.
I work for a global company that's based in Toronto and New York. I don't need to be anywhere. I can be here and work.
So
I think
market the infrastructure.
market the infrastructure, have good, internet access for everybody, have good locations. And again, it's all about quality of life, especially nowadays with the younger couples. Again, they can work from home. So it's all about the quality of life. How good is the education system? How good is the health system? How good is it for me to raise my family in town there? That's what's important.
I'll let Robin know. Thank you.
Okay.
One of the younger couples in town.
There you go.
Thank you for your time.
All right.
All right. Anything else? Gentlemen? John, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you, guys.
We are going to wait for John's return
Okay.
to make a formal motion and
That's fine.
an appointment, okay?
All right.
Thank you. And I see you brought your wife with you too. She's doing a bang up job on the grill for me. All right. Number 2, Charles.
How are you?
Oh, good, good. Charlie, I'm going to ask you the same 3 questions. John Gannon insisted that we do this, and I can understand his reasoning, only because of some of the committee work that he had to be involved in. It was very frustrating for him. But the first one is, it's important to attend all the select board and BCA meetings, okay? And you can commit to that, correct?
Yep, I can commit to that. I can commit to any meeting as long as there's warning ahead of time.
Okay, remember, the BCA also includes, hearings for the appeals. It also includes the elections. Is also
Board of
the Board of Abatement. Should somebody looking for a return on their taxes. All of this, that includes you on all of these, okay? It's kind of a wide blanket of what's going to be your job description from that point forward, once you're on the board. All right. The other one is, our town plan commits us to relocating the town office. Are you in favor of that?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any drawback that anybody's having because of the town office, even though FEMA has insisted we do so?
No, I don't think there would be any drawback in moving it. I don't
Okay.
think, yeah.
Okay. Some have said that perhaps with some flood mitigation or some flood, well, whatever it may be, all right, that perhaps we wouldn't have to make that move. However, FEMA is not agreeing with that, and they're very insistent that we formulate a plan and we move with the office. We've had a committee in effect here for some time that really has not been able to get off the dime. And in fact, we're going to end the committee. All right, that's going to come to an end here very shortly. But anyway, all right, third one. We're committed to extending the water and sewer east of our downtown area. Is that something you can support?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we already have the bond in place. We have a different thing, but we're hearing grumbles every once in a while that not everybody's in agreement with this. And this is the only way that we can, this is the only direction we can to expand.
No,
Right.
I think it's a great idea to support businesses in that direction and residents as well.
Okay, so Charlie, what do you plan on bringing to the board?
Well, my wife and I moved to Wilmington almost 8 years ago. And I just resigned after my third term as the chamber president. And I think by bringing to the board, I've got a good feel of businesses in the valley, especially obviously in Wilmington. And we really love the valley and we want to stay here for as long as we can. And, I think I could bring that spirit and experience to the board.
Okay. Chamber. Sarah, would you like to ask a question?
Sure. Charlie, what are 2 or 3 things that you think are important to make Wilmington a better place? Issues that you think are important or could make Wilmington a better place to live?
Well, back up the to live part. I think that Wilmington really needs to support new businesses coming into the valley and the residents. Similar to what John said, but on the other side is I'm concerned about the vacant buildings and also, business owners that are going to be retiring. We're going to have another empty building on top of that. And that's one of my concerns of the valley. And I also think a lot of people in the valley don't know what all the different boards do. I think I have a lot of people that ask me, since I'm vice chair of the DRB, on what the DRB does, what the planning board does, what the select board does. And I think that's really important, just getting that across. And so, supporting the residents and the businesses is really important to me, but also I know everyone fights to find volunteers to join boards and all that stuff. And I think if people knew what the boards did and how they can support the valley and the changes that support the valley, I think you'd have a lot more interest. And I'm sorry I'm on Zoom. I'm on vacation.
Vincent?
Sarah nailed mine already.
Oh, she did. She did. Tony?
So in all fairness, I got to ask you the same questions I asked John. If it comes down to something that affects you personally or affects the town, which way would you go?
Town all the way. Yeah.
Very well. And so you would get along with the system we have now with the select board and the town manager?
Yes. Don't have any issues with it.
What's that?
I do not have any issues with it.
Okay. If you could just, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I don't think anything in the world is really perfect, except and nonetheless, what is the current problem with the select board?
I feel like you're throwing a hand grenade at me, and it's the pin on the hand grenade or not. I think it really comes down to people don't know what the select board does, and all they know is the bad press. They don't know the good press. It's that, and I'm not stealing off John LeBron, but if you think about things that have made the paper, there's never the good news that makes the paper. It's not what is the 1% used for. People don't know that it supports, the local events and it supports the daycare at the old high school. I think people are scared of the select board. I mean, it's not really the look you want to have. And I think it's that, yeah. I guess that's my number one thing on the select board. They don't know what the select board does and what the positive things they do. It's one angry person tells 50 people, one happy person tells 5.
Familiar with that. So what would your membership do to improve the select board?
Similar as before, I think that from being on the chamber I've been on the chamber for the entire time I've been here. I restarted the chamber after COVID and went through that process. I really think I know a lot of the businesses and what the I think I know a lot of the folks that want to give an opinion but don't want to give it to the select board. And I really do think that I would bring some, no offense, but fresh blood to the select board. And really, you know, just being aware of what's happening in Wilmington.
Perhaps young blood, you mean? Is that
I did not say
Are you
young. I said
insinuating,
fresh.
are you insinuating that we're ready for retirement here? No?
I would love retirement. Let's do
I
it.
would really like to focus on the good press we get. I haven't seen it yet either. Kind of like the DRB, Charlie.
Oh, yes, just
I
like the
think there are many
DRB. Yep.
people walking around this town kicking tires and trees and dogs because of the DRB's decisions, okay? All
Yep.
right? I know, it's not an easy place to be, but somebody has to do it, okay?
Yeah, and I think it's important is how the information gets out there. We talk about it on DRB, but it's when people come in front of us and we say, have you looked at these ordinances? And they say, what are you talking about? I haven't, it's how the information is getting out to people and being aware of what all the boards do. The one committee that people love in town is the beautification because they love the barrels, but that's about it. It's how do we get it out that the select board does great stuff as well. And so does DRB and the planning board.
That's the wrong answer, the beautification committee. That's the biggest thorn in our side. You realize that, okay? You have a rather dominant group that pushes that like crazy, okay?
Was that pun intended or not pun intended?
Oh, no, it's a chore. It's a chore. It's a chore. Although yes, everybody very much likes the program. All right. But between that and nuclear war, I guess that's the priority. But anyway, okay. All right. Any other questions?
How would you change the perception of the select? How would you get the information?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
How would you get the perception to change about the select board?
I think really just word of mouth. Maybe, really talk to Chris and some of the people from the paper and really just try to get people to understand that there are, let's look into the agenda and look at the items that the select board is focusing on and what it brings to Wilmington, like the septic and the water. Like some people, if they're against it, are they looking at all sides of it and the positive coin of it? How do I myself just word of mouth and being positive what the select board does as opposed to what people would think it does?
Good.
I get you all a badge, something else like that. But, hey, Charlie, we thank you very much. All right. We will let you know on how we.
Thank you. Can I say one more thing, Tom?
Oh, certainly.
Yeah. So I would say, I was thinking more about what you were saying before. I think from my role in the chamber, I know a variety of people throughout the town. And I think that, I'm approachable and people would ask me questions and it's a good way to sort of get the positive vibe. I will be honest, my concern from the beginning when I met with Scott and I talked to Sarah was the scheduling, but with ample warning, I can make meetings work. I'm no longer, I have 1 year as past president of the chamber, but if I was to get this position, it'd be more important than the chamber, as we've already selected a new president. So, I do have multiple businesses going on, but I keep my schedule organized and, I am committed to see this town move to the next spot.
How many people are on the board for the chamber?
Active or on the board? On the board.
How many are named to the board?
We have 11 members on the board.
Really?
Yep.
All right. That's a big board. I think that's.
Oh, 12. We just got the new GM.
Well, okay. And even doesn't. Okay. All right. I thank you.
I just
Thank
want to
you.
say,
I'm sorry.
I just want to say one thing to both of the candidates that, as you all know, I'm leaving the board. I'm sad to leave the board because there's a lot of work to be done. This is going to be a very busy time for the town. There is going to be Route 9 bridge is going to be changed in 2029. Flood resiliency for our town is a really big issue that we need to face and try to flood proof as best we can, this town. And the Route 9 sewer and water extension is a great initiative as well, but there is going to be sacrifice for that to do that. So there are a lot of things coming to head in the next few years, and we need to have good leadership, stable people who are working on these projects because they're huge projects for our town.
Well, it's
And your jam.
actually, we need a united front to do this.
Yeah.
It's going to be money after money, although hopefully we are in very good shape with our finances at this point. We don't have a lot of debt. All right, we've been able to manage it fairly well. Again, we have a lot of large issues coming down the road. Don't think we're not looking for grants. With the flood resiliency, we've had many meetings already with multiple agencies. And they were hoping to put something together. We haven't seen quite what we can get to yet, but we're going to keep working at it. But that's a long process. And so unfortunately, I always tell people, had somebody say to me here a couple of years ago, select board isn't a difficult situation. It's 2 meetings a month and that's all there is. And I looked in my book. And I think that particular year, it was probably 2 or 3 years ago, we had 74 meetings. All right. And unfortunately, some of them were unscheduled. Obviously, most of them were unscheduled. But we had to do it. We had to do it. We had to, set tax rates, whatever it may have been. We had to do it. But we need a certain amount of flexibility to do that with. Anyway, I'm more lecturing than asking questions.
Right, and I'm not trying to scare you off. I'm just saying, like, there's some big things that are going to be happening in the town, and I hope you guys are ready to sink your teeth into these issues.
So, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have to have that real fun time with some insurance. What the hell's whistling?
I have no idea. I'm not whistling.
I didn't think you were.
Yeah, nobody can hear me normally, so we need to make sure I have a battery. So Blue Cross Blue Shield gave our broker proposed rates for us for the new year based upon our last year of experience with them, or probably the last few years of experience with them. We asked the broker to look at other options for us as well. When they came back and told us that we were coming up with like a 10% increase this year, they asked Cigna to give us a quote. Cigna decided not to give us a quote. They think it may because the last couple of years they've given one and we have not ever taken the quote.
Aren't they the MVP program?
Cigna and MVP are two different. As far
okay.
as I know, they are. MVP is on the health exchange. So you have Blue Cross Blue Shield and MVP, which are part of the health exchange, which is where we were before we went to the Blue Edge business that we have currently. When the broker who was helping us did some comparisons with plans that are similar to our plans that are on the exchange, those percentage of increases were actually much higher even than the 10%. I think MVP gave us a 14%, and I think the Blue Cross comparable on the exchange gave us, I think, I want to say it was 20% or more for that one. Yeah. So it really kind of comes down to, 10% is a large increase, but at the same time, it's much less than the other options that are out there for us right now. As of right now, I don't know if you guys remember, but the Blue Edge business, there is a chance of getting a refund on your premiums at the end of the year, depending upon your claims experience throughout the year. Right now, we are actually doing much better than we were last year. So there's a slim chance that we would possibly get a refund for this year if we can do really well for this last quarter. Which if there is a refund, if we don't stay with the Blue Edge business plan, we wouldn't be eligible for that anymore anyway. I don't see any reason to not stay with the Blue Edge based on all the information that we were given. The only thing I think that Scott and I were looking at was has been the case ever since the exchange programs came out. Every year the deductibles increase. I think they used to increase by like $50 or whatever. They're starting to increase by a little bit more. This year, the deductible increased by $250 for a single plan and $500 for a 2-person or a family plan. So the only thing that we were thinking of was to actually not quite split that difference with the employees, but to raise it by a little bit. So last year we did $400 for the employee share at the end, and we're suggesting this year to do a $500 for the employee at the end. For the single person, 2-person and family went from $800, and we're suggesting to do $1,000. The out-of-pocket costs, I don't know if I mentioned that, but they went to $3,000 and $6,000 total this year. So we would still cover the majority of it, and we would still be covering the first end of it. So that's our suggestion. I don't know if you looked at the sheet, but last year we had an $85,000 increase overall for the calendar year. This year we're looking at about a $71,000 increase. So it's not as high as last year, which is good. But I don't know if we're ever going to see the 4% or 6% that we used to see.
I'm looking for the 10% rebate. That's what I'm looking for.
I don't know that
I
we're going to
know,
get
I know.
that high of a rebate. I mean,
you know.
we have an aging select board, we also have an aging employee base. So they're not the.
Don't ever reveal that to Blue Cross Blue Shield, please. I mean.
I think they already know. They already know. That's the reason we get the prices we do. I mean, I was surprised.
It's not just employees, remember, it's spouses and families. So.
Yeah, and then if you add in sometimes the spouses or families or children or whatever, there's a lot of stuff out there. But yeah, I mean, it's the typical Vermont town in general. Everybody's aging. There aren't a lot of
I
young
don't know
people.
of any state or any municipality that is raving about the savings that they have achieved with medical insurance.
Oh yeah, no.
Okay, it's just, the biggest oxymoron in the world is affordable health care. That doesn't exist, and I know that.
But when we started this plan, remember, we got a sizable cut.
We did, and
Reduction.
that's the reason we went to this, because we actually saved a lot of money in that first year. And last year with the increase, which was a 15% increase last year, it was actually back to where we were paying previous year on the exchange. So, I mean, I think we're still doing good with the plan because we're not paying for everybody. We're paying for us. We're paying for our claims experiences. And that's what's the driving force here for us.
And people are happy with the insurance. I mean, the employees are happy.
I believe so. I haven't had anybody really grumble or complain. I know
a few things need referrals that didn't previously, but otherwise it's fine. And it's pretty simple and quick when you need them, from my personal experience.
I mean, I think we've had fairly good luck with them.
And it's very quick
mobile.
turnaround.
Yeah, I
when
mean,
you
you can go just about any.
experience is better.
Okay, you can go out of state, whatever. I know some of the
No,
old,
compared to
Cigna
Blue
used to have
Cross
one that was just
when we
in-state.
were on the
it was just a
exchange,
mess.
You didn't need referrals or pre-authorizations for things that you do on this plan, but they're very quick to take care of it when you need it.
Okay,
Getting to see the doctor is the whole other issue.
so the recommendation is to go and stay with the Blue Cross Blue Shield.
That's,
I
I mean, it actually is gonna work out for the cheapest for us this year
Wow.
because any of the other plans would actually be a much higher increase for us.
In the majority of municipalities, I mean, was it over 60% are with Blue Cross right now?
And it could be that we
Something like
do
that.
get the discount,
There's a
could be.
chance of a refund at the end of the year.
That
It's
just
slim
roll-
right
they-
now,
They
but
roll it
there's-
over into the next.
Yeah, so the way that it works is that when we finish out our claims for the year, which wouldn't be until like March of
Yeah.
25, because that's
Oh.
basically when everything gets finalized. They'll look at where we were in comparison to where they thought we were gonna be with claims. And there's a ratio, I think there's a 25,000 number that's out there that basically we have to have more than that of a surplus to get a refund.
It sounded like a low cap when we first started, but it's
That's
a sizable cap. So we're
Yeah.
saying-
That's amazing.
Yeah,
But, you
So-
know, we may have a good, healthy year because I think to some degree,
Oh, yeah.
people through COVID could not, you know, go to the doctors and stuff. And now I think everybody's catching up. And
Yeah.
like you said, to find a doctor was still challenging, I think.
and like I said, I mean, right now we're doing actually better this year than we were last year at the same time. Last year, I think we were done by like June. We had no chance of a refund by June, so right now we still have a slim chance.
Okay, folks, any questions?
Do we need a motion on this or is this just?
Yes, please.
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion.
I make a motion that we support the treasurer's position, that this is the best option for the community.
Can we approve?
True.
All right,
Support,
yes.
I said support.
All right, second, that the select board approve the health insurance plan for 2025 as presented by the treasurer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
All right.
Nothing
Thanks,
else
guys.
involved tonight?
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, we have a second.
Second.
All those in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
I know it. It really, you know, this is a big time, and I thought, you know, it'll take me at least 2 meetings